On a late afternoon, the grocery store buzzed quietly with the tired energy of people finishing their day's errands. The long checkout lines stretched toward the front, filled with shoppers clutching their carts and baskets, all waiting their turn. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead as the air smelled faintly of fresh bread and cleaning products. Near the middle of the line stood an old man. His hair was white and thin, and his face was marked by deep wrinkles that told stories of a long life. Though his clothes were simple and worn, he carried himself with a quiet dignity. His eyes, calm but steady, seemed to hold a weight that went beyond his years. He moved slowly, careful with each step, as if every moment was precious. Behind him, a woman tapped her foot impatiently. Her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her brow furrowed in frustration. She glanced repeatedly at her watch, then back at the old man. Her voice rose sharply as she finally spoke, loud enough for others to hear. The words cut through the usual hum of the store. A subtle hush fell over the crowd. People glanced at each other, sensing the tension building between the two. It was clear something was about to unfold, something more than just a simple disagreement in line. The air grew heavy with quiet unease, waiting for what would come next. The woman's voice grew sharper as she spoke again, louder this time. "Sir, could you please move faster? Some of us don't have all day to wait. If you're not going to hurry up, maybe you should just step aside and let the rest of us go ahead." Her words echoed down the line. People nearby glanced at the old man, waiting to see how he would respond. But he stayed calm, his hands resting gently on his shopping cart. His eyes met hers, steady and patient. "I'm already waiting my turn," the old man said softly but firmly. His voice didn't carry anger, only quiet strength. "I have just as much right to be here as anyone else." The woman's face twisted with frustration. "Right, but you're taking forever. There's no reason to be so slow." She crossed her arms again, tapping her foot loudly on the floor. "Some of us have places to be." Whispers started among the people in line. Some shook their heads in sympathy for the old man, others rolled their eyes at the woman's impatience. A few looked away, uncomfortable with the growing tension. The store's usual calm had vanished, replaced by a feeling of unease. One man muttered quietly, "She's being rude." A woman nearby leaned over and whispered, "There's something about that old man, I'm not sure what, but he doesn't seem like just any customer." Another voice joined in softly, "Maybe he's a veteran or something." The woman ignored the murmurs and pressed on. "Look, I'm just saying it's not fair for you to hold everyone up. Maybe you should be more considerate." The old man didn't reply. Instead, he looked down for a moment, then slowly reached inside his coat pocket. The crowd held its breath, eyes turning toward him with curiosity and growing respect. The woman's face hardened, waiting for whatever excuse or explanation he might give. But the silence that followed was heavy, as if everyone sensed that this moment would change everything. The tension in the line grew thicker, like a storm ready to break. People shifted in their spots, whispering quietly among themselves. Some quietly defended the woman's impatience, saying things like, "We all have places to be," while others shook their heads, quietly urging patience and respect for the old man. "She's right about respect," one man whispered, "but that doesn't mean you rush someone just because you're in a hurry." The woman, growing more frustrated, raised her voice again. "Respect goes both ways. I've been waiting longer than most here, and it's not fair to slow down the line just because you want to take your time." Her voice cracked slightly, a mix of anger and exhaustion. The crowd listened, some nodding, some frowning. It was clear she was worn down by more than just the weight. Then, without a word, the old man slowly reached inside his worn coat pocket. The room fell instantly silent, everyone watching him with wide eyes. With careful hands, he pulled out a small shining object, a medal. The sunlight from the store's windows caught the medal's surface, making it gleam brilliantly. It was the Medal of Honor, the highest award for bravery in the military. The crowd gasped, a sudden wave of awe sweeping through the room. Even the woman, who had been so loud and angry moments before, stood frozen. Her face went pale as she looked at the medal, then back at the old man. A quiet hush spread over the line, as if the air itself had stopped moving. People stared, their earlier judgments melting into respect and wonder. Some reached out to touch their hearts, others blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the weight of what they had just witnessed. The old man held the medal carefully, his face calm but proud. In that moment, no one spoke. The loud impatience and frustration vanished, replaced by a deep shared silence filled with respect for the man who had sacrificed so much. The woman's eyes filled with tears, the fight leaving her. The crowd waited, not for the line to move, but to witness something far more important, a reminder of courage, sacrifice and honor that few would ever forget. As the crowd stood silent, their eyes fixed on the old man and the shining medal in his hand, a quiet story began to unfold, one not spoken aloud, but written deep in the lines of his weathered face. Decades ago, this man was not the slow-moving figure waiting in a grocery line. He was young, strong, and fearless. He wore a uniform that marked him as a soldier, a protector of his country. The Medal of Honor he now held was not just a decoration, it was a symbol of bravery that few ever earned. In the thick heat of battle, under a sky darkened by smoke and gunfire, he faced danger without hesitation. His unit had been surrounded, outnumbered, and desperate. Without thinking of his own safety, he pushed forward, shielding his comrades and taking on impossible odds. Wounded and exhausted, he carried on, never stopping until the mission was complete and his fellow soldiers were safe. That medal told the story of his courage, a story of risking everything for something greater than himself. It was a symbol of honor, sacrifice, and selflessness. A reminder that true bravery often comes from the quiet moments when a person chooses to stand firm, even when fear screams to run. But after the battles ended, the medals were tucked away, and the cheers faded. The soldier returned home, changed by what he had seen and done. The world he came back to was different. Time moved quickly, and respect for his sacrifices often felt like a distant memory. He found himself in a quieter life, far from the battlefield's chaos, but facing new struggles. Age brought aches, slower steps, and days filled with silence. Sometimes people looked past him, treating him like just another old man waiting in line. Still, he carried his past with quiet pride, not for the glory or attention, but for the dignity of knowing he had given his all. The Medal of Honor wasn't a trophy, it was a promise kept, a promise to protect, to serve, and to live with honor every day that followed. Today, as he stood in that busy grocery store, the medal was not about proving himself. It was about being seen, not just as an old man, but as someone who deserved respect. Not because of the medal itself, but because of what it represented, a life of courage, sacrifice, and unspoken strength. In that moment, the old man wasn't just waiting in line, he was standing tall in the face of impatience and judgment. And the silence around him was a quiet tribute to a story too important to ignore. The woman's face slowly changed, the sharp anger that had filled her eyes softened, replaced by something deeper, shame. She looked down at the floor, her breath shaky as the weight of the moment settled over her. I'm sorry, she said quietly, barely above a whisper. The words felt small in the silence, but they carried a lot. I didn't mean to be rude, it's just, today has been hard. Her voice cracked as she glanced around, then back at the old man. My little boy's been sick, and I lost my job last week. I've been trying to hold it together, but sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. The old man nodded slowly, his eyes kind and understanding. There was no anger in his gaze, only the gentle acceptance of someone who knew hardship too well. It's all right, he said softly. We all carry our battles. Patience can be hard when life is heavy. Around them the crowd's mood shifted, people who had been tense or judgmental now looked on with new respect. Some whispered apologies to the old man, others nodded quietly, acknowledging the woman's courage in admitting her struggle. A woman nearby spoke softly, "Thank you for your service," her voice filled with warmth. The atmosphere, once heavy with tension and anger, now felt lighter, filled with kindness and understanding. The harshness of the moment had softened into something gentle, a reminder that everyone faces challenges, and that respect and compassion matter most. The woman reached out to the old man, offering a small grateful smile. He smiled back, a quiet peace settling between them. The line waited patiently now, but no one rushed, because this moment wasn't about waiting anymore. It was about seeing each other, truly and kindly. After the apology, the woman stepped forward, and gently helped the old man lift his groceries into a nearby cart. Her hands were careful and kind, a quiet way of showing respect beyond words. The old man accepted her help with a grateful nod, their earlier tension melting into a simple act of kindness. Around them, people in line began to talk softly, their voices low but filled with new understanding. Some shared stories of their own family members who had served in the military, while others spoke about moments when they had been judged unfairly or misunderstood. The mood had shifted from frustration to connection, as if everyone suddenly remembered that each person carried a story no one could see. One man said quietly, "It's easy to rush someone when you don't know what they've been through." A woman added, "We all have battles, just different kinds." The air felt warmer now, filled with respect and quiet reflection. The old man and the woman stood together, a small reminder that moments of patience and kindness can break through anger and impatience. As the line slowly moved forward, the narrator's voice returned, soft and thoughtful. Sometimes it's easy to judge others quickly. We see a face, hear a tone, or feel frustration, and we jump to conclusions. But behind every person is a story of struggle, courage, and heart. The Medal of Honor isn't just metal, it's a symbol of sacrifice, yet the true honor is in the way we treat each other every day. The narrator paused, letting the words sink in. Small moments, like this one in a busy grocery store, have the power to change hearts. They remind us to be patient, to show kindness, and to remember that respect and humility can heal wounds we don't even see. The story ended not with loud applause or grand gestures, but with quiet smiles, and a line full of people who had learned something important that day. A simple moment had brought them closer, not just as strangers waiting to check out, but as humans learning to see each other clearly. And in that small space, hope quietly grew. The old man's Medal of Honor is more than just a symbol of war, it stands for resilience, sacrifice, and the quiet strength of the human spirit. It reminds us that true honor isn't about medals or medals alone, but about the courage to live with dignity every day, even when no one is watching. In a world that often moves too fast, it's easy to judge others too quickly, but this story asks us to pause, to look beyond the surface, and to show kindness to those around us. Because everyone carries a story worth respecting, and sometimes, the smallest acts of understanding can make the biggest difference. Take a moment today to remember that patience and respect are gifts we can all give, and that they have the power to change lives, one quiet moment at a time.